on this International Human Rights Day. All the eminent persons on the dais, Mr. Rajivan, and all those who are leading the battle in different states on the issue of not just K-Rail, but the development paradigm itself, as Mr. Arvind Akshanji just mentioned in very much details. Mr. Abu Bakarji, Sharanya Rajji, the state union convener, and all her colleagues, Babu Rajji, who is one of the affected persons suffering a lot, S.P. Raviji, who has led the battle on the Athirapalli project, and I remember Lata, who is no more with us, Sharad Chalur and C.R. Nilakanthan, our colleagues in the National Alliance of People's Movements, and all those, Mr. John and Mr. John and others who are on the dais, and the eminent guests present. I am here today after a long time, during which you have really organized yourself not as victims, but as the citizens demanding your right to live, right to shelter, right to livelihood, and human right beyond constitutional rights. And hence I am pleased to be here and see the well-organized, not just the strength, but the spirit that you are conveying through this gathering. I know that you have already shown your mass organization, unity, solidarity on the 27th of September. When we were in Maharashtra with all our left front comrades participating in the farmers' struggle. And you know that the farmers' struggle is not just of the landowner farmers, but we include the farm laborers, the cattle grazers to the dairy workers, Adivasis living on the forest produce, fish workers, and all those who live on the natural resources. And to the extent that we have through Sanyukta Kisan Morcha, the alliance of 550 organizations, attained the victory in repeal of the 3 pro-corporate, anti-people, anti-constitution, anti-equity and justice laws. We are going to celebrate the same. But we know that we yet have a manzil which is far away. We have not yet achieved the real legal regime on the minimum support price for the agri and other natural produce. We still have to fight the battle for all the issues related to the Fasal Bima and all that is leading to the loot of the farmers. But friends, as someone just said, this struggle over last 1 year has certainly increased and widened the space and status of not just the farmers, but the constitution itself that needs to be followed by the citizens as well as the rulers of this country. And that message really has conveyed to us that amidst the awfully fascist situation that we are experiencing in this country, which is corporatization based, which is consumerism based, which is corruption based, commodification based. We have to really fight through the people's movement and people's politics and nothing less than that. And that's why the victory of the farmers really show what you have already realized, that we have to rise beyond the party lines. The line that can be drawn can only be between development and destruction and nothing else. And I remember that one of the central leaders, the ministers, who has been known for pushing the infrastructural projects ahead at any cost and expressing pride and privilege over that, had raised a question in the parliament a year ago as to whether you want environment or development. Now, this dichotomy is certainly laughable. Can there be any activity which can be called as developmental activity without the natural and human resources? And if both of those two kinds of capital are getting destroyed, even in the beautiful and bountiful state of Kerala, what will happen to not just the Western Ghats, but every mountain range, every river, every groundwater source and aquifer, every agricultural land without which we cannot attain food security, and what will happen to the people who are directly living on the nature and surviving on a piece of land with their own shelter. This question needs to be answered. Whatever may be the blames and accusations and defamatory remarks against us, when a person like me come here, everyone would say, oh, again, you want to raise Nandigram. As Mr. Rajavan just said, their comrades and we were all together. And no doubt that time we were opposed, we were questioned. But I'm happy to say that it was the same left front that after that battle joined us. And we could really get abolished the 1894 British Days Land Acquisition Act and bring 2013 Act. Now this kind of rethinking, review of the position and emergence of the new ways and paths towards our goal of equity and justice with sustainability, not just growth, is something that needs to come up even in the situation and the challenge that you have taken up already. I salute to you all. It is also known to us that when we raise some questions about any project, whether it is the Mumbai-Ahmedabad high-speed rail project on which we had published a book in 2018, or K-Rail, whether it is related to Sardar Sarovar, a big dam, or the big dams and massive constructions in the floodplains and catchment areas of the rivers in Kerala. We know that those questions are raised with our democratic right. That is granted to us by the Indian Constitution. And hence, not just filing an application under the right to information, but asserting the right of the citizens to be not just witnesses to, not just victims of, but the participants in the development planning process is the right that is granted by the Constitution, at least later, maybe, but in 92-93, with the clear position taken through Article 243. And hence the questions that you are raising, the stand that you are taking, that K-Rail project cannot be pushed without your consent and your participation, is something that needs to be hyped. Projects. But the question is one of paradigm. When in Paris to Glasgow, there is discussion and debates based on the impact on the climate that the developmental activities, as they are invariably called, are having on the climate, we realize that the real question is of the political and economic climate that decides the paradigm. Because of then the commitments given in Paris or in Glasgow, where our Prime Minister has said that by 2070 there would be zero net, no carbon emissions. But we know that after the Paris Convention summit, the coal blocks were opened up, and even today we have 60% of our energy or power generation based on the thermal power. So it is only blah blah blah, as Greta Thunberg calls it. She is a young girl like Disha Ravi and others in Kerala. Also there are so many youths, I can see the young girls sitting here. And when they say anything that is accepted, no one can challenge them, even during that Glasgow COP26 summit. But when the real directly affected people raise a question, they are most likely to be considered as anti-development and anti-nationalist. We are still out of jails. We have seen a number of jails in the country. But we know that this question needs to be raised here and now. Because what is happening to the country, including to the state like Kerala, to the Western Ghats, is something that cannot be kept hidden anymore. You are facing landslides and floods after floods. You are seeing the lack of regulation and monitoring of your big dams, which was not acceptable to the Kerala state government when the last flood occurred. But this time, they have followed to an extent CWC guidelines, keeping the reservoirs low. You know that the Madhav Gadgil report was discussed enough. But the Kasturi Ranjan report following Gadgil report, somewhat weaker, but still strong enough to say that we need regulations, controls, and limits to the development, and in the name of development, destruction, excavation, everything that is happening in the Western Ghats. It is therefore when you are facing the landslides leading to deaths and nothing less than that, we know that there is a need to review the paradigm adopted by the state of Kerala and every state in the Western Ghats region. We are fighting the battle against the Lavasa megacity in Maharashtra. The work is stopped because the primitive tribes were also being looted of their land illegally without following any law, with the fake documents and fake agreements. But project by project, even if we raise the issues, the real question is, what is the vision that our rulers going to follow? When the drought and flood cycle is occurring everywhere, we just studied 2 districts in Maharashtra where the flood was very devastating the last monsoon. Raigad next to Bombay and Kolhapur. And the only conclusion that was unanimously drawn by the experts to activists to the affected people was that the so-called infrastructure, which has become a suprastructure today, is really destroying the natural structure, processes and resources invariably. When a big Konkan railway bridge was built in the district of Raigad, the river Savitri, which was flowing over 2-kilometer range, could not get that much space, and she had to accommodate herself in 700-meter stretch, which was bound to bring in flood, and it did. The Mumbai-Goa Express Highway and the Kolhapur-Nepal International Expressways, all of those are blocking the natural flows and routes. And it's not just the elephant route or the corridor, but the human sources of life support. And hence, even in Kerala, when we have seen this happening, we must appeal to the rulers, and if there is no response, challenge them on the infrastructural projects here as well. Friends, it is very clear that this high-speed rail on one hand, and now the renamed semi-high-speed K-rail of yours, the proposals that came up since 2017 and then in 2019, none else but the former consultant Alok Kumarji Verma has clearly stated that the proposal was different initially and now it is different. It was something that was a part of the railway network. But now if we talk about real development of the railway network, which we are not opposing as Mahatma Gandhi questioned in Hind Swaraj, we are not going back that much. But can that rail network, which is the transport facility for the common people in this country, is really going to be taken towards the development goal? No. Railway is being sold out. Now 45 trains are almost stopped and 150 routes are almost granted to Adanis. And 12 lakh employees in railway, the profit-making public sector, are going to be thrown out as the BSNL employees and BPCL employees have already been facing. So what is the real public transport network that we really need and need to also grow and need to really further widen and reach out to the nook and corner of this country? It is not the high-speed or the semi-high-speed rail projects. Those are not even linked to the broad gauge. A special standard gauge that they are drawing in the state like Kerala is not going to be a facility for the common people who cannot afford to pay the heavy cost for the K-rail. It is very clear that the bullet train project, which is opposed even by the left front comrades in Gujarat and Maharashtra, and no work has started in Maharashtra as yet, although acquisition has gone ahead and is going ahead. But this train also is to be pushed at what cost? It is at the cost of the agri land, it is at the cost of the wetlands, it is at the cost of the mangroves, and it is at the cost of the habitats which are generations old. And I can see that if from one single district, Trishul, so many of you are coming here not as victims but as strugglers, then you too are facing the same. And when you are fighting in each district, obviously you know the better the details of the impacts that are occurring. But everyone knows that if the wetlands are affected, the breeding grounds for fish are affected. If the mangroves are finished, the tsunamis are bound to come in. And Okhi to Amphan, this country is facing a number of such cyclones every decade, if not every year till today. Now in such a situation, when such a large project, a mega project is planned, can it be without the full assessment of impacts, environmental and social? When we were sitting, because the then UPA government was very much for dialogue with us, we had an entry. Even on Sunday, the office of Jairam Ramesh was kept open, and hours together we could discuss the draft, we could raise questions, we could raise objections, and the Prime Minister office inquired what are the 10 points that they finally want, you tell us. And we wanted the social impact assessment. But we wanted all impact assessments not by any pro-corporate agency, not by a patron who would give a signature on whatever is drafted as a report by the government itself. We wanted that with the full participation and primacy to the Gram Sabhas, and in the urban areas also the ward Sabhas. Now this is the right that you are in a way demanding. If your Gram Sabha, if your ward Sabha in the urban areas, your municipal unit is not even consulted, how can they assess the real impact is a question. If the Adivasis or Dalits are affected, if the women face acquisition of last chunk of land of 4 cents as the third project coming onto her land, then only she can tell us what is the real impact, and not just the planners and the researchers or the scientists. And this is what the 2013 Act stresses and underlines. Has that happened here with the KRL project? Have they ever consulted you coming to your villages, your townships? Yes or no? No. So that is what is undemocratic. And when we are across the country raising our voice against the anti-democratic practices, like passing of laws, 21 bills were passed in 20 hours during the lockdown in the parliament. 3 acts were imposed which had to be repealed because Narendra Damodar Das Modi got defeated by the farmers' strength and strength. But 29 laws in favor of the Shramik, the toiling masses, the workers, which came up through the struggle over last 70 years, since 1947 onwards, those are repealed and 4 codes are being imposed. So this is being challenged by all of us, people's movements, in which there are socialists, there are communists, there are centrists, but there are farmers, laborers, women, youth, students, every other kind of organizations. And the alliances of organizations as well, from the Gandhians to the Marxists. So how can K-Rail kind of project go ahead through the equally undemocratic and unconstitutional process is a question that we all must raise with hands in hand. And we see that the environment impact assessment, we have seen a number of projects from Enron to the Jindal's thermal power project, mega cities and so on, where how the EIA is played with. When EIA 2020 is not yet converted into a final notification, we are saved for the time being. But otherwise, there are not going to be EIAs or environmental consents and clearances for many projects which are going to be highly destructive, whether of rivers or the mountains. And yet, even today, if the EIA or the pre-feasibility report and the social impact assessment is either not carried out or is given to such an agency that had to be rejected by none else but the National Green Tribunal, I think you have won the battle. While I say it is fortunate that the central government, which is otherwise known for committing invariable atrocities in the name of development, and also violating the constitutional and human rights and the rights of the nature itself, leading to various kinds of viruses. It is unfortunate that even the DPR is not in the public domain. And when your legislatures are also not taken into confidence, that is absolutely as undemocratic as whatever is happening in the parliament today, with 12 MPs thrown out, and in the lockdown, the benefit is taken to pass the anti-people bills or repeal the laws. And hence, it is not known till today what is it that the government has really understood and taken into consideration. When we know that the one big highway in Kerala has affected thousands of families, and I know that Vallarpada to a number of projects and displacement which we had witnessed. We couldn't stop everything. But today when the ports and airports are being handed over to Adani's, the corporate who is questioned by all parties excluding BJP, at the farmers' movement and every single front of the people's movement, how can it be that this project is also pushed ahead in the similar manner? No doubt it is not yet considered as a PPP project as the bullet train is. But this project is also likely to be more or less privatized, with one after another aspect of the project handed over to the private investors. This is what is happening in the railway, the public sector itself. How can it not happen in Kerala? I know that this DPR not in our hands, I cannot say much about it. But you have the right to information and you can take it in your hands any moment. Or the movement for right to information itself will have to be carried out and further at the central place in Trivandrum. It is therefore necessary to understand that how is this kind of project being pushed ahead. I was shocked to know that the Chief Minister of your state, who is certainly fighting a good battle against communalism, hats off to him, who has done a good work in the relief work after Okhi cyclone as well as the dam effects, if not rehabilitation of all those who lost livelihoods or lost their houses. But how can he call this project as a green project? Dare do that while writing to the Prime Minister. Now, everything is considered as a green when there is the black laws being taken as a basis, and it is only the monetary and financial investment that really matters. Even the gases which are poisonous are considered as greenhouse gases. So this wrong terminology is a game, a conspiracy that is played. But this project cannot be considered as a green project, as I just said, and you have realized that when the highway really affected up to 30 meters, right, first, and then the second time the houses rebuilt on the remaining land were again affected, what is it that they have got? At the most, some compensation. But the very resettlement site that we visited to see, years after they were displaced, we could find that even they had not got the rehabilitation in the real sense. There were no alternative colonies, and there were no amenities, and the land that was given to them was leading to the sinking of the houses in certain places. Now thousands of houses, at least 20,000 to be again affected, is something that is not a small impact for a small state like Kerala. And hence when you are raising a question about the displacement of 1 lakh people, I think the state government must be compelled to answer as to why is it necessary. Is this really a priority in terms of the infrastructure or the transport policy? Now it is called as green because there is a claim that there would be less of road transport, which is polluting the air in Delhi. In other places it is not given much importance as much as Delhi and NCR region. But will that happen? On one hand, I can see the Kerala also is having more and more of road transport, and for that the highways and expressways are also growing. And parallel to that, maybe at some distance in some districts, while in some districts I am told it is so close that even after the highways impact and affected, the balanced land is again going to be taken over for this project. Now that is too much. The secondary and the third time displacement is something which no one can bear and need not bear. But when this greenery is being lost, with the activities coming up in the Western Ghats, how can these projects be called as green? Green ventilators are lost, and that's why people are dying for oxygen. We know that when such kind of big projects come up, there is so much of material needed. That is energy intensive activity. It is not just energy intensive when you take out coal alone. Whether it is cement, water, everything that is gone into this kind of project leads to the emission of carbon. And this energy intensive technology, which is taken from Japan, if not only the Western countries, is something that is destroying our country, and that is proved through an umpteen number of research and impact assessments. If KRail is not gone through that process even today, and if the center is not given the consent, then this is the time you have to fight and fight and fight. It is also seen that the economic growth with employment is something that is claimed invariably in case of all such projects, whether it is SEZ, whether it is Enron, whether it is KRail or bullet train. But what happens? SEZ was assessed few years or 1 decade later, and it was found that the claims were false. Even in this, as well as bullet train, there are non-governmental independent assessments which have brought out the same fact. And even if the employment generation takes place, it is mainly for the daily wage earners. But how many people really are displaced from their livelihoods due to such project? Having lost their shelters, which are closer to the livelihood, or having lost their bank balance. That is never really considered into many assessments. Friends, we also know that Japan is now competing with China and France. And Japan is wanting to expand its markets. So Japan, we hail that country for its real perseverance and its hard-working lifestyles that has helped them themselves to progress. But Japan also has to consider the nuclearization of its power sector. And Japan is now selling out its technology to the country like India through JICA, the organizations which we have fought with in Narmada project. I know how this international cooperation, so-called, through the bilateral agencies really co-opt our politicians, our economists, our planners as their partners. And hence whether this project will be worth 67,000 crores or 1.26 lakh crores is still a question. That is a question about bullet train, that is a question about K-Rail also. But even if they give this as loan for a very minimal interest rate, and that is seen as something which will bring in the economic growth, we know that the economy cannot keep on growing ever. Now there is a concept of degrowth that is being pushed by the 1,500 scientists in the world who are really saying that the clock is ticking, and if the humanity has to survive, you cannot really look at the economics, you have to look at the ecology as well. And friends, therefore, when the Japan is offering this technology, are we really bound to accept it as it is? When the Kerala state government is giving an assurance to the center that we will take care of the financial losses, it is not just the losses of the government, it is the loss of the state exchequer that needs to be challenged, because this state exchequer is coming from the taxes of the common citizens, and that cannot be misused even in the situation of pandemic when people are wanting the real investment for the real life support activities. So whether there is a need for such a K-Rail, how many people will travel, even that figure is always fake. 40,000 they say will travel in the bullet train across the states, and here they say 80,000. No one can believe that this will ever happen. And if at all the elite section population can use this, it will be at the cost of the alternative investment in the real transport for the common people. So all these issues that you have raised, I think are worth taking forward, and it is very, very clear that if we have to change the development paradigm, we have to resort to the people's struggle and nothing less than that. I told that it started from Koilandi, and Vijay Raghavanji is here, and now it is, and Ismailji also, yes, and you are still leading it even after years, district after district. I think this kind of challenge to the project is always condemned by the politicians. They would be famous and they would say that these are the people who are again taking up the battle against development. No, we are fighting against destruction, deprivation and institutionalization. But I tell you what games are on. When you go to the National Green Tribunal, where I also plead the cases on the illegal sand mining to whatever, we know that the orders are not complied with. And beyond that, what happened on the Constitution Day, 26 November? You might not have heard that speech of the Prime Minister. Great Prime Minister spoke before the Chief Justice of India and all justices who were present in the Vigyan Bhavan. And he referred to only one project, and that is Sardar Sarovar. And he said that ये प्रोजेक्ट ऐसा है कि जहाँ आंदोलन होता है और आंदोलन रोकता है, और आंदोलन के बाद न्यायमूर्ति जुडिशियरी also hesitate to give the truthful judgments. In a way, he blamed the judiciary also. Now you know that 36 years we have fought the battle. 50,000 families are rehabilitated with 5 acres of land, to whom everyone who lost 25% of his or her land, may it be 1 acre or 2 acres, but 5 acres is the minimum, along with the major sons and major daughters also. But Prime Minister is again blaming the movement which has gained a great victory with the farmers' movement, and that is known to the world. But when he says that even the judiciary is making a mistake, imagine what kind of influence or intervention is going on into every pillar of democracy. And hence, if you approach bureaucracy, if you approach political parties, if you approach judiciary, everywhere you will have to face challenge after challenge. We know that the Sardar Sarovar has not benefited Kutch and Saurashtra, but he said now from Kutch there is export of agri-produce taking place, yes, but the canals are not fully built in Kutch, and those which are built are full of mud and not water. So Kutchis and Saurashtrians are still wanting us to fight with them, while the displaced population also continue to struggle for 1,000 or more families who remain to be rehabilitated. And the benefits of the project have not come true. Maharashtra and Madhya Pradesh have not got even the power, electricity only benefit that they were to get, while 245 villages are destroyed. And whether the Narmada will survive or not is a big question to me, while Modi ji has changed all his focus onto tourism and not on Sardar Patel or Sardar Sarovar. So friends, the fake kind of claims, fake affidavits, fake environment impact assessments, everything really builds the towers of these towering projects in this country, and that is destroying the country, and that is changing the priorities towards corporate benefits and lack of life support systems for the common people in this country. And this is what we are challenging. So there is nothing wrong in challenging a project. I really feel that the Article 243 must be asserted as your right to decide whether a project is agreeable and acceptable to a community or not. So community-wise resolutions to be passed with the elected representatives attending those Jana Samsad, people's parliaments, which you can hold in every single community, township or village which is fighting this battle. I feel that you certainly have to fight legally, and you have already approached very many legal fronts, but as I told you, that there is no guarantee that you will get human justice beyond legal justice. And hence it is necessary that Kanuni or Maidani Ladak, the legal battle with the ground level struggle is a must. And that's what you are carrying out, and that is what you have come with up to this mode. I am sure that you will proceed further, and you can demand that 2013 Act is the only Act which should be used if at all acquisition is to be, not police force. It is the legal force that we also have to have as a non-violent weapon in our hands. And that says that the Gram Sabha must be involved, and the social impact and environmental impact assessment must be a precondition. And pre-feasibility report is not even formulated. This is not likely to happen so easily. But I appeal to the Politburo of the Left Front, members of which are with us, Hananda Maula and many others. And certainly when they are really taking up the side of the affected, displaced, exploited people across the country, they can certainly do wonders here in Kerala where they are in the power positions. Now you would say exactly the opposite happens. When the party is in power, it takes a different position or changes its position. But that is seen in the case of every political party. But the people's power and people's movement that you are resorting to certainly cannot change its position. So compromise, will it be on increased compensation? That is what is happening everywhere. How much of agricultural land is changed into non-agriculture so that food security will be affected? How much of drought and flood impacts are being brought up, are coming up with this wrong development paradigm, and whether it is really replaceable or can be substituted if the destruction takes place in a region like Western Ghats. No one really looks into that. And one central minister told me, Medha ji, अभी land acquisition की ज़रूरत नहीं है, अभी लोग हमारे पास खुद आते हैं क्योंकि हम ज़्यादा पैसा देते हैं. महाराष्ट्र में समृद्धि मार्ग, one single highway, they paid 3 crores per acre. Many people will feel na lalach aa jayegi man hai, but that's not the way we can save our agriculture. That's not the way we can save our livelihoods, and that's not the way we can save our country. And hence, the prioritization and democratization, both are necessary while planning any of the development activity. And of course, the nature really is challenging us today with number of viruses. But the worst of the virus is that of corporatization, globalization and privatization, and that is what is reflected in the K-Rail type of project. So I really salute you, and I really hope that the struggle that is going on, the arrests in Kottayam, Kollam and other places, the police force used, this will be changed with the strong mass struggle, which has to be non-violent, which has to be satyagrahi struggle, with a clear goal in mind. And I know that the Kerala is the state which has many small groups to organizations who really care for nature and care for the people's planning and people's democracy. I really promise you that we would do our best, but if Pinarayi Vijayan ji himself, who is the main decision maker in Kerala, Narendra Modi, he cannot compare himself with. He should not. And he should really engage into a dialogue, which we wanted to happen when the highway was affecting thousands of families. But I don't think that ever happened with fully open heart and openness and transparency and accountability, which are the principles which are listed in the manifesto of every political party, but not followed between any two elections. So it is necessary that you really compel the government to hold a dialogue first, and if they don't, then the fight is inevitable. We will be with you. तो लड़ेंगे, जीतेंगे, लड़ेंगे, जीतेंगे कि हारेंगे, लड़ेंगे,